After working and paying taxes for about 50 years myself, I believe that no person living in Australia today should be entitled to any special benefit or recognition which is based not simply on need or achievement, but rather on race, or how long their ancestors were here. What do the panel think about that?
I'm going to start with Sammy, because we haven't heard from you on this issue.
Wow. Thanks for the easy one. Look, it's easy to dismiss the value of race when it's not something that has been a defining aspect of your life, when it's not something that has been used to vilify, deprive, and rather, in many cases, destroy entire communities. In situations like that, when you don't have that experience, when you've never had that kind of vilification coming at you based entirely on your race, it's easy to sit and say, look, you know what, it's a fair go, everyone's born equal, everyone dies equal, and I don't see race. It's actually harder to see race in these situations because that acknowledges a certain level of privilege. I can understand why you'd feel that, look, you know what, there's no race, everyone's equal, why should my taxpayer money go in different areas? But unfortunately for you, we do live in a society which is entirely designed upon helping one another, helping the underprivileged. We have New Start, which we desperately need to increase for a reason. We have Centrelink. We have all of these things. We have, Medicare. We have a system designed to help those who need the help. And there is, whether you like that truth or not, a community within Australia who, because of their race, have suffered more and greater than any other community in this country. And to give them the help because their race has put them in a situation where they've needed the help, there's nothing wrong with that.
Bill, if you want to come back, that's fine. Linda.
I'm rather surprised by your comment, Bill, and I'm a little saddened by it, actually. I've paid my taxes for 50 years too, 45 years, I should say. I think that where you're coming from is not actually understanding the truth of this nation. And the truth is that First Nations people have a special relationship with the land and have a very spiritual relationship with country that has gone back tens of thousands of generations. And that means something. The second point that I'd make is that if you think that bigotry and racism has not been part of the Australian story, as Sami has indicated, then you're wrong, because it has. And the thing that I see daily are the terrible outcomes of that bigotry and that racism and that history. I see it in young people, young Aboriginal people in particular. And it is also, I think, a really important point to make, and I'll finish on this, Tony, is that the truth liberates. And for us as a nation to come together as Australians, all of us, to understand our shared history, our shared story, can only make us a better place.
Just a quick one, Linda. We know what happens with referendums. So few of them get passed in this country.
True.
And the leadership to take you there needs to be bipartisan, it needs to be consistent, and
Yes.
it needs to make a clear point to the electorate, which is led from the top. Do you think you're going to see that happen under this government?
I desperately hope so. We in the Labor Party have completely embraced the statement from Uluru, the statement from the heart, completely embraced it and have done so for some time. I think you've heard our leader, Anthony Albanese, say that.
Here's the problem, though. Ken Wyatt, who could be the leader on the government side of this debate, has not embraced the whole thing, but only part of it.
Yeah, well,
and he's now separating out the voice from the Constitution, it seems to be.
Yes, and I think the position of the Prime Minister is fairly clear, that he would like to see recognition of First Peoples in the Constitution, not the preamble, but the Constitution, and would like to see a voice legislated. That is where the position of the government is at the moment. the position of the Labor Party is a full embrace of Uluru. But we also are very understanding that for a successful referendum in Australia, it must be bipartisan, it must be across the parliament, I would say to Rebecca. Now, that is the situation there is. There is a long way to go with this discussion, and I'm not going to preempt anything at this stage, except to say this, that at the end of the day, there has to be a permanent voice to the Parliament that advises the Parliament on issues pertaining to First Nations people, be it legislation or policy. And that can only make the outcomes better. My wish is that it be enshrined within the Constitution. The government has a different position, and we will see where we get to. And I hope that Scott Morrison can come to this discussion with an open heart and an open mind.